So I'm just going to start with a quick question to Rio. Rio, can you explain what excites you about this challenge, and was it a difficult decision for you to accept?
It wasn't difficult. I think when Betfair approached me about it a couple of months ago, it was quite a quick, straight yes to my team, based around what team would be assembled around me. Fortunately, I've got a good team, Richie and Mel. But it was more about testing myself. I think all of my career, I've been kind of used to competition. I've fueled myself off of competition, and I've probably been searching for that since I retired. You retire, I'm still quite into my fitness. I'm in the gym, but for different reasons than playing football. So I just still miss that competitive edge, and I think when you've got that competitive chemical in your body, you need to keep it going. You need to find a way to keep having that inside you. So this is just a fantastic opportunity for me to do that. Also, it's something for me to focus. I think obviously the last couple of years I've been through quite a few things in my life, and this is another just a way of being able to kind of channel that aggression, that anger sometimes, and just emotions into something that I can be really focused upon, and this is just something that I'm really kind of into. I've got the utmost respect for the boxing fraternity. I'm not coming in here sitting and saying I'm going to be a world champion. I'm coming in here saying there's loads of hurdles to get over, and I'm going to meet all of them head on. And I'm like an armchair boxing fan anyway. I like anyone else. I'm sitting there saying I could do that. Why is he not throwing a left? Why is he not throwing a right? Now I'm going to find out, training-wise, how hard it is just to get to that point of getting into the ring, let alone getting in there. So I'm really looking forward to it. And physically and mentally, I'm going to go to places I've never been, but I want to meet them challenges head on.
Well, two of the men who are going to bring you to those places. On my right-hand side here, Richie Woodhall. As an amateur, Richie won gold medal at the 1990 Commonwealth Games and a bronze at the '88 Olympics in Seoul, both in the light middleweight division. Professionally, Richie's held the WBC super middleweight title, as well as the Commonwealth middleweight title and the European middleweight title. Most recently, Richie has forged an impressive coaching career that includes working with the 2012 Olympic boxing squad. So, Richie, a question to you. What's your view of the challenge when it was first outlined to you, and what's required for Rio to succeed?
My initial reaction, I wasn't that interested, to be quite honest, because when it was first put to me, I didn't know who it was going to be. So when they said it was going to be a retired footballer, I obviously thought, well, it's someone that's going to be in his 30s, because that's about the age that footballers retire. And I can't think of many footballers, to be quite honest. I mean, I'm a big football fan. West Bromwich Albion, by the way. But I'm a big football fan myself. But I can't think of many footballers that would make that transition to professional boxing, because you've got to have a certain type of temperament. Curtis Woodhouse has done fantastic. He went from professional football and won a British title, so it can be done. He did it about the age of 34. So when it was first put to me, I was a bit sceptic. But then when they said it was Rio, that sort of changed my mind, because I've always been a fan of Rio Ferdinand. I've always admired him as a footballer, but I've always admired his attitude and his healthy living. I know he's a family man, and I know he's very disciplined, and he's carried that discipline through into his personal life as well after football. And again, I was a little bit sceptic, but I wanted to go and meet him, because I wanted to see for myself and have a good talk with him that he was serious about it. So I went down and spoke to him at his house. We had a good chat, and I could see he was serious. I then wanted to assess him to see what ability he had, and I took him on the pads. He's not bad. He's got a little bit of talent. He's got a little bit of natural power, and he has the natural physical advantages and ingredients, I would say. He's tall, he's rangy, and if I can get him to box in a certain way, I think I could do something with him. But it's his general attitude and his healthy lifestyle that obviously turned me, and I do think that we can do something with him.
Excellent. And Richie, thanks for that, Richie. Mel Dean, who's the strength and conditioning coach, ahead of completing his degree in sports science at Brunel University, Mel was offered a professional contract with Richmond Rugby Club. He played professional rugby for 13 years, with his career seeing him play at centre for Connacht Harlequins, Sale Sharks, as well as Ireland A. Following his retirement in 2009, Mel has pursued a career as a strength and conditioning coach, gathering a wealth of knowledge and experience over the years to build his own personal training brand, and one of his clients is Rio. Mel, can you outline what it's like to train Rio, his commitment and focus?
I'd like to say he's easy to train, but that's not the right word. Physiologically, he's easy to train. He's got great genetics. His dad is the fittest 59-year-old I've ever come across. He's 60 now, is he? But he's got great genes. His mental attitude. It's basically, if I get into training, unless he's jaded from coming down from commentating the night before up the country, I'll say jump and he'll say how high. So it's a pleasure to train him, to be fair. And over the couple of years, we've become good pals, and it's a pleasure to go there, train him, push him on. And I realise that he's going to have to go to some horrible places to train for boxing. In comparison to football, he could coast because he did it for so long. But I'm looking forward to putting him in the trenches, and I know he'll come through because he's got that attitude.
Declan Taylor from Hayter Sports Agency. Rio, have you done any sort of boxing in the past, maybe as a kid or?
Well, we should sort out our problems on my estate with a pair of old, like Henry Cooper type brown boxing gloves on the banks on my estate. So there'd be one of us reffing and two of us going at it. But I wouldn't say technique was at the forefront of our minds at the time.
I don't know if you saw Eddie Hearn spoke to the BBC today, and he said that he thinks you're being extremely naive and that you might be kind of misunderstanding the sport. Just your response to that?
No, I've spoken to professionals within the game, Richie more than anyone. And listen, I'm not disrespecting this sport at all. I know what I'm coming into. I know it's a tough sport. I know that there's going to be moments where I'm going to ask myself the question, am I doing the right thing? But that's what I'm here to do. That's what I want. That's part of the test. I don't want to sit in the comfort zone all the time. I didn't do that as a player. I want to test myself in another sport. And like I said before, I've been at home sitting in the chair saying, he should do this, he should do that. And I'll probably be able to answer a lot of the questions for a lot of armchair fans. And that's the role I'm probably taking.
We've kind of seen that in the past before with Andrew Flintoff, but also with Curtis Woodhouse and Leon as well. Obviously, Flintoff had one bout and the other two kind of campaigned. Where are you going to kind of fit in between those sort of spectrums?
I don't know. I mean, I've got huge respect for all the guys you just mentioned there, but they travelled their own path, just like I will. And I think this is more of it'll be steps. I'm not going to say I'm going to go here and do that, because I think that will be naive. That will be a naive part on my part. So I'll take it stage by stage. I'll be guided by the professionals, the experts in this field, and we'll see where we get to.
Yep, James from Bull Street. Firstly, the estate, being on the estate and sorting those things out. When we talk about boxing a lot, people talk about testing your chin. Has your chin ever been tested in the past?
Yeah.
How did it go?
Yeah, with a few size 9s and 10 football boots. I came through all right after that, but a boxing glove will be a bit different. But no, listen, there have been times when you've been clocked. Different times in a football match where you get hit, not with a fist, but with different parts of the body. But every single one of them moments is going to be different, and that's no different to a fist coming at you at 100 miles an hour from an opponent.
And the other thing, you've mentioned it a couple of times about those ugly places, those difficult places that you're going to have to go to. Is that, I get the feeling that's something that you relish a little bit. Would that be fair to say?
I think as a sportsman, yeah. I think when I played football, I just look back to when I played football. I enjoyed training hard, working hard day to day to try and improve myself, whether it be physically or technically or mentally. I enjoyed that challenge. And that's probably one of the biggest elements of my career that I miss most, is that challenge on a day-to-day basis. Can I be quicker than I was yesterday? Can I improve my technique in this situation? Can I mentally prepare myself any better? I was always asking them questions, and I missed that type of challenge, that competitiveness within myself. So this is an opportunity to try and get that back a little bit too.
Rio, we've seen big marquee football players in the past end their careers in China or the USA. Why have you chosen to take up boxing rather than go that route per se?
I think my private life has determined staying in the country as well. What's happened in the last couple of years, but also, my kids. I don't want to uproot my kids and go anywhere else. I want to keep them here. They're very stable and they've got a structured lifestyle right now. So to change that would be stupid. And again, everyone's route's different. I'm enjoying my punditry at the moment, but also I want to get my teeth stuck into this.
What weight category do you expect to fight at and compete at?
I would say, talking to Richie,
He's going to be probably, he's unfortunate for him, to be quite honest, because he's between light heavy and cruiser, and he'll probably be as a cruiserweight, but he won't be at the top of the division in terms of his weight, because he will naturally come down in weight when we start training him, but he's too big for light heavy. He'd never make 12.7, so he'll be a cruiser, but at the same time, we don't want him bulking up to the top of the cruisers and being slow, because he's tall and he's fairly lean. Then one of his attributes that we want to work on is going to be his speed, and to be fast at that weight. Looking at Rio's weight and physique, he will probably be a cruiserweight, but he won't be in the top of the division in terms of weight that he actually weighs. He'll be a fairly small cruiser in terms of the weight, but he's got the height and reach, and that's something that I'm looking forward to working with, because he's my sort of build, tall, rangy. That's how I used to box, and so I know a thing or two about using the jab and the straight right hand, and that's what I want him to do. But weight-wise, yeah, it's a little bit tricky because he'll be a cruiserweight, but not at the top of the division.
Richie, with his age being 38, do you expect him to go in straight at Southern area level, English level? What kind of area are you expecting to go in at?
I don't expect it. I don't expect too much, to be quite honest. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've said to the team, we've got many hurdles to get over. It's not just a case of Rio wants to turn pro and the British Boxing Board of Control are going to give him a licence. That's the biggest hurdle we've got. He'll go through a 10 to 12 week training period with myself now and Mel, and I'll be working a lot on technique. There'll be long sessions with him on technique to improve his technique. We want to get him to a level where I'm satisfied with. I want to get him to spar. I should imagine the British Boxing Board of Control are going to want to see him and actually see him perform. You know, we will be arranging that, and then hopefully he'll get his licence, and then we're away. As regards to contests, he'll start off at 4 rounds, nothing more, nothing less. He'll be a 4-round boxer to start with, and we'll take it step by step. And if he enjoys it, he'll learn quicker and faster, and that's what we're hoping. But it's a long, hard journey, and like I say, when I went down to speak to him, I explained this to him. He's still very, very eager, and he reminds me of when I was like 18, 19, when I was boxing for England, looking to turn pro myself in the future, because I turned pro at 22 after the Olympics and Commonwealth. And he's got that type of attitude. The first thing he said to me, when am I sparring? Who am I sparring? I found it quite funny. I said, right, calm down. We've got to get you into a certain process, and we've got to get over certain hurdles and certain stages. But I'm confident, like I said, having the talk with him and taking him on the pads, assessing his ability, I'm confident that we'll do something with him. But answering your question, he'll be a 4-round boxer if he gets his licence.
Josh Denzel from the Sport Bible. Have you had any kind of kind messages or any messages from people within football or the boxing community since you've made this announcement?
You must be on social media, you must know.
Yeah, want to hear it from you first.
I've not really had time to look, to be honest. Obviously, I've got loads of friends who were in like, Gary Neville tried to have a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. I've saved his life a few times on the pitch and in the change rooms. But yeah, most of them have been well wishers. A few of them are you mad. I spoke to AJ a little while ago. We travelled together somewhere, and he was like, "Yeah, man, if you need some help or you want to come and spar or come in the gym, I'll be wide and open. You can come in." But yeah, everyone's just like, it's kind of a bolt out of the blue, really, because no one really expected it. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of footballers who'll be at the fight if I get to that point.
And have you decided on a nickname?
Are you mad? Come on, man. I'm just coming into this as a novice. Novices don't get nicknames.
Got to earn that.
Exactly, you got to earn that right.
Who would you compare yourself to in terms of boxers, past or present?
No, there's no. I'm not comparing myself.
He's too
to
much
anybody.
respect for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the real beginnings of trying to actually get through the training. Like Richie said, to try and even get a professional license. So I can't be comparing myself to anybody.
Fair. And how long have you been thinking about kind of making this move, or was it something that Betfair kind of brought to you and that's what sparked it?
It wasn't on my radar at all, but Betfair approached us and spoke about this challenge, and it was just something that really excited me. I have thought long and hard about it, the pros and cons, but with the good team that I've got around me, I feel it's a challenge worth taking on.
Hi, Barry, Kevin Garside from the Eye. What's this all about as far as you're concerned?
Sorry, I couldn't see you, so say again.
Sorry, Rio, it was for Barry.
Oh, sorry.
Well, obviously, from Betfair point of view, we want to be there all the way. It's good for our customers to see it. It's good for boxing. It brings it to a wider audience as well, and it brings it to, people who otherwise wouldn't have an interest in boxing. To see that transformation from a professional footballer, and can a professional footballer, a professional athlete transfer some of those abilities into another field? We saw it with the Pendleton campaign, that she was able to do that. And I think we've seen it with Rio as well. Obviously, one of the things that attracted us, with Rio, he incorporates into his physical regime and into his exercise regime. Sparring and boxing has always been has been part of that. So obviously, it was a very obvious fit for us.
But are you able to, how do you measure the benefits of that as an organisation?
There's various different metrics around the marketing activity that we'll be doing around this. Even you guys being here in this room for the launch, that is a positive benefit for us, obviously. So there's various different metrics.
Hi, I've got a question for Mel. How are you going to approach his training differently in terms of boxing?
Well, to be fair, the last couple of years, when Rio retired, he wanted to put on some muscle mass, a little bit of timber, so to speak, and we've done that. He set his mind to it, and we put on some weight, but he's been training really as a professional athlete as it goes. We deadlift, it's all full body movements, all functional movements. So that's why if his core is nice and strong, he's not leaking any energy, he can throw big bombs. So he's been angling that way anyway. He'd have been good at number 8, but rugby wise he would have been a good number 8, definitely.
I think also as well, just to add to that, is the nutrition. Chris is in here somewhere, Chris Farvanas, he's over there. He's I think I've worked out, it's crazy because as a professional footballer, people would assume that you actually know exactly how to eat and what to eat for certain outcomes. But I've retired, like most players, we just follow what we're told to eat without really knowing the detail. And it was a great education period for me to kind of get with Chris, and who's really into the nutrition, and understand how to gain muscle mass through training, but also the food and the importance of food and how and when you're meant to take stuff. So that's going to be an important factor as well, and has been beneficial in the last couple of years in terms of training with Mel and getting the results we wanted. So to get the right results, the training, the nutrition and the professional help is going to be something that needs to be blended together.
Hi, Rob Harris from the Associated Press, across here. Rio, how lucrative is this for you? How much are you getting paid by Betfair? And Barry, you talk about the customers and the benefits for them. How much are the shareholders going to make out of this whole thing?
That's a great question, isn't it? You've really lightened the mood there with that one.
Yeah, obviously Rio's been remunerated for his time in the marketing activity around this campaign, but we wouldn't be talking any specifics around the commercial aspects of that. In terms of shareholders to benefit, I really can't answer that. I'm not the right person to talk to. But it can't be negative, can it?
Do not give him the mic again after that.
Rio, is there a reason you didn't go to the British Boxing Board of Control first to see if you could get a licence before actually announcing this?
No, I mean, what he's got to do, he's got to have a training program, okay, over a 10 and 12 week. I'm thinking, because I'm in the game and I know I've been a professional trainer and an amateur coach, so I went down and looked at him and assessed him. And I said, look, we're going to need about 10 or 12 weeks. I said, and then we'll approach the British Boxing Board of Control. And, I'm just thinking that they're going to want to see him. They're not just going to give a 38-year-old professional footballer, even though it's Rio, they're not just going to give him a license. They'll probably want to see him. So that's the reasoning behind the 10 and 12 weeks of training, of the technique work that he's going to be doing. I'm going to be working with Mel on his fitness also. So at the end of 10 or 12 weeks, I want to get him to a stage where he'll satisfy the British Boxing Board of Control that he's capable of getting a license. He's good enough to actually box. That's our next goal and target. You know, it may take longer. You know, from one pad session that I did, I was quite pleased with him, but let's see how he responds to the training, and that's a hurdle that we have got to get over, and that's not going to be easy, and I've explained that. This isn't going to be easy. This whole program isn't going to be easy, but he's very eager, very keen. He's probably the fittest 38-year-old that I've ever met. He's in great condition, and he lives a clean life. So like I say, he has got the ingredients to be a professional boxer. Whether he will be is going to be entirely up to him, and he's got to satisfy the British Boxing Board of Control. But that's the reason why we need 10 or 12 weeks of good training, solid training and technique work to get him up to a standard that's going to be acceptable.
Would it have made sense to do that before actually making any announcement today?
Oh, so you mean, well...
But it's a challenge. That's part of the whole thing. To challenge him to see if he can get to that required level.
And it's pressure. You know what I mean?
Rio, is this also your first time at the York Hall?
Pardon?
Is this your first time you've been here at York Hall?
Yeah.
It's not my first time.
Nor mine.
Hello, Rio. John from SNTV. You've come from a sport that's relatively safe regarding injury, and moving into boxing, people have been injured or some people killed regarding a head injury and things. Does that worry you, moving into that side of a sport?
Oh, it's definitely something that I've thought about, but that's part and parcel of sport, and I think all sports there's elements of danger. You say football's not that dangerous. We've seen footballers that have died on the pitch as well. So, listen, I understand what I'm coming into. I know it's going to be a grueling, tough road, but it's one that I'm really looking forward to going down and testing myself. But it's just not physically that I'm testing myself. It's mentally as well. Can you wake up early in the mornings when it's dark and raining and wet and windy and go out on them runs? Can you take the punches in the training sessions? Your nutrition, can you be dedicated in that sense? And they're all the questions that are going to be answered on this journey, and that's why I was so eager to get involved with this challenge.
I might just add that from a Betfair point of view, Rio's health is #1 priority throughout this challenge.
Richie, as you know, 4-round fighters can be out every month if necessary. Obviously, Rio's 38. How often, if all goes well with the license and the training, how often do you expect to be out?
Let's just get there first.
Yeah, well, if we get to that stage, I mean, let's get one thing, and when I first met Rio, I tried to explain everything to him. I didn't try to deter him, but I pointed out all the dangers of what this game's about and what it's like, and he's still very eager to do it. So, you know, he's going to do it, he wants to do it. Okay. I don't know how Rio's going to react when someone in a spar situation with a head guard, he gets one clean on the chin. I don't know how he's going to react. Those questions normally answered with other boxers at a very young age, and they continue to go in the sport. Rio's 38 years of age. He's coming into this game very eager and very keen, but there's lots of unanswered questions. I don't know how he's going to react, so let's get that right. But in terms of if we get to the stage where he can box over 4 rounds, okay, that will all depend on how he's boxed. If he's got any injuries, I can't really answer the question. He's not going to be a case of he's going to be every other week. No, he'll do 4 rounds. I've said to him we'll probably have an 8 to 10 period of training up to a 4-round contest. Then I want you to have maybe a week and a half rest. And I said to him, complete rest as well. You go away, because it's peaks and troughs in boxing. Rio's used to being at a high level of fitness for his football, but in boxing, you train over it, sometimes a 10, 12-week period. You peak, then you come back down again over a week or 2 weeks, and then you go back up again in your next training. So he'll have a couple of weeks off, we'll get back into training, it could be 8, another 10 weeks, but we'll just see how he goes. You know, we'll learn from his performances, we'll study them, try and improve him, and yes, I want him to box regularly, because you know as good as anyone that the best boxers are the busy boxers. We will want to keep him busy, but he's not going to be a boxer who's going to be out every 4 or 5 weeks. No, that isn't the case. But it will all depend on his performance and if he gets injured.
And Rio, can I just ask, when was the last time you got punched in the face?
This morning, actually. Mel.
How did you react?
I don't know where are we? Yeah, Mel. But obviously not on a regular basis. It hasn't happened. I've probably had more football boots in my face and punches over the last few years.
And can I just say as well, one of the, not an issue, but what he'll have to cope with as well, when he does get hit and he gets hurt, then he's got to stay focused, and that's another part of boxing that no one can explain, apart from a boxer himself, that when you get hit, sometimes you can lose your temper so much, but you've got to stay controlled and calm. And he will learn that. Boxing controls your emotions. That's why it's the best sport in the world. It gets people from a young age right to people of 38 years to control their emotions once they get hit and they get hurt. And that's another test that he'll have to pass.
Okay, one more question.
Is that everyone? Okay, well, what we're going to do, we're going to have media huddles at the two tables at the back of the room. On the right-hand side is going to